But I'm very curious to see, what I can learn from you and how we can engage together for a brighter future. So again, without further ado, I want to bring the mic back to Nasia and the team to engage with on the topic that we are going to discuss today. Thank you very much, Lily and Omkar, for today's coming in and to become our experts for this session. Thank you very much again.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tan, for the inspiring opening speech. For today's first Potato Talk series, we got two speakers, and together we'll delve into how to navigate the unpredictable journey of entrepreneurship with confidence and resilience, which will give you more understanding about the startup ecosystem, how to craft a winning business model, securing funding and resources, also how to build a strong team, and lastly, how navigating challenges and pivots.
So before we begin, again, a gentle reminder, please turn on your cameras for an engaging session. If you have not yet downloaded the background for the same, like how we have here, the Curious Potatoes, you have the QR code provided here. And secondly, please keep your mics off. And as Nasia already mentioned, don't forget to write down your takeaways in the Insight template. The scanner is also provided here. You can tag us on social media at osg.sg. Lastly, if you have any questions during the session, please wait for the end at the Q&A round, and you can type out your questions in Slido. If not, we have sent you the link. It's in your comment section, or you can use the scan over here to scan and write down your questions in the meantime. So we'll just wait for a minute until you can scan all of these or anything you might require. Now, let's meet our first speaker, Mr. Omkar Deep Singh Bhatia, an electronics engineer with a passion for bringing ideas to reality. He possesses 4 years of industrial experience within a startup ecosystem, having had the privilege of working with over 115 startups, supported 3,000 students and 100 prototypes. His guidance has extended from initial concept phase to a tangible realization encompassing the entire product lifecycle. With a primary focus on nurturing startups, empowering innovators, and catalyzing sustainable growth for women, his objective is to bridge the gap between complex projects, execution, and scaling, fostering an atmosphere that drives technological innovation and stimulates the growth of startup ecosystems. His domain expertise range from edtech, agri-tech, consumer tech, health tech, e-commerce, deep tech, and circular economy. Over to Mr. Omkar.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. I guess this was very long what I had submitted, so I shouldn't have given such a big introduction of mine. Okay, so should I go ahead and share my screen? Okay, just give me a second. Let me know if it is visible.
Yes, it's already.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, give me a go ahead and I'll just start off with my thing.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I can't now see certain people. If I do this, then a lot of things will go blur to you. Okay. Yeah, welcome to the session. Thank you for all the organizers for calling us for this session. Uh, like again, to the long introduction, what was given for myself, I'll again give some bit of it. So I have been associated with the startup ecosystem from past 7.5 years now, where like my first interaction with the startup ecosystem was where I started with the first idea which I had during my college days, and I was like, okay, let's try out that how good our idea is. Let's go and talk to people and find out if the things which we are building in our mind, is it actually required or not. So this was something which nobody told it to us, that you should start off with talking to people, but that came in without any instinct, without any support from anybody. It was like just a natural thing that okay, before doing anything, you need to talk to people to understand if they are also facing the same problem what you as an individual are facing. So since then, college happened, three odd startups started, failed, closed down, fights with the co-founders, and a lot many different things had happened during the college days itself. So after which I was like, oh, let's start understanding the ecosystem from the inside out method, where you need to go inside the ecosystem. You need to uh, do it with somebody else's money to understand certain things from your end. And that was the time when I took my first step and I started working with startups itself. So when I say I started working with startups, I started working in startups during my college days itself. So fortunately, unfortunately, every time whenever I work with anybody for extra pocket monies or extra learning, every time it was about startups. So I have worked with somewhere around 7 to 8 startups directly itself. So, and yeah, after that, the first thing was I need to understand the whole journey of the startup life cycle step by step. So the first step is idea to prototype. So that is the step where most of the people like back out or don't put most of their strengths into. So that was the first step which I entered in this ecosystem, and now I have completed the step of idea to prototype to product development. And now I'm trying to understand the business aspects of it, and I'm trying to understand how to commercialize things, how to understand things from a business aspect, or how to understand the things from a venture capitalist or a investment point of view. So, oh, welcome aboard. So currently, I'm working with Indian School of Business, which is India's number one B school, what we can say it as. And like the reason why I chose this place to work in was where the best people are there. You should be there to learn the best kind of things, what you need to put in your own startup's life cycle. So moving ahead, some reminders. Again, your organizers have already given it to you. Please mute your mic, turn on your cameras, and keep asking questions in the chat. So I'll be keeping an eye on the chat as well. So keep asking questions because I love to answer questions rather than just speak on my own. This is how the whole session will be looking like, where the agenda is understanding the startup ecosystem from inside out, crafting a winning business model, which is a big thing to explain, but we'll try to understand it from what all things you require for building a foundation at least, and building a strong team. So how do you find out a good co-founder? How do you find out a good team for yourself? And a lot more things while we go on. So it's the plan for the day is learn, unlearn, and relearn. So certain things which you might have in your mind and are not correct, you unlearn them and you try to relearn the new things. So yeah, so the first thing which I want to go ahead with is like a small bit of activity where we want to see that okay, the participants who are they alive? Are they into the conversation or not? So the activity is what comes to your mind when I say a word. So when I tell certain things, you need to type it down in the chat section, and let's see what comes to your mind, and let's see what are there as those terms meaning in your mind. So the first word is, when I say a word startup, what comes to your mind? Which is the first word, or which is the first thing which comes to your mind when I say the word startup? I'll wait for 10 seconds and I'll go to the next word itself. Okay, so build from zero, entrepreneurship, patience, hustle. Okay, persistence, start down, a lot many things. Okay, a very different kind of an audience which is trying to starting something new. Okay. So gotten a good understanding of okay, a roller coaster. Roller coaster is something which is which should be a synonym for startup in the Oxford Dictionary now. So it's all about ups and downs, ups and downs, and ups and downs every other day. So morning you'll be very happy that okay, I've got 100 crore funding in my account and I've kept the money in the Silicon Valley Bank in US. And evening you'll get news that okay, Silicon Valley Bank is going down and my money is all gone. So that kind of an roller coaster ride it is. Finding the problem. Okay, interesting. So the second word for it is now innovation. So what, according to you, is innovation? What comes to your mind when you say the word innovation? Quickly, something new, solving an existing problem. So what comes to your mind when I say the word innovation? So does Elon Musk's new robots come to your mind when I say innovation, identifying problem? Okay, a lot very different. So this activity is just to understand the audience, just to understand what is your thinking about these terminologies, out of the box thinking, out of this world, creating new solutions. Okay, good enough. So now, okay, come down to the third word, which is the last word, customer. When you understand the word customer, what is your understanding about it? User. Okay. Payer. Okay. Stakeholder. Okay. To buy our product or services. Okay. Okay. People from India, they'll try, like they'll get a good hold of it. I'll try to make it in a generic tone. So you have heard of this startup called Byju's. So it's the talk of the town. It is uh, the most negative example of a startup what people are using right now. So when we say the term Byju's is an edtech platform. Byju's is a platform which sells online courses to students. So when Byju's finds out its customers, so for them the customers will be their parents, the parents of the students whom they are selling the whole concept, and for them the users will be the people who are going to use their product. So they might not be. So usually people try to confuse between the customer and the user. Certain times it has the similar meanings. Certain times it is both the things are the same. Your customer can be your user, but on the other side, your user cannot always be your customer. So the user has to use the product, but somebody else is paying for the applications to be used. Okay, good enough. So I got a good understanding of what the uh, audience's thinking pattern all about. So let's go to the next slide. And the next slide is understanding the startup ecosystem. When you say understanding the startup ecosystem, we need to understand who are the stakeholders, which we got in the chat box as well. So your customers are different, users are different, stakeholders are always different. So stakeholders are someone who are a part of that ecosystem, trying to help you to build the whole solution, help you to market the whole solution, help you to sell the whole solution, and everything around the whole business fundamentals of product. So when we say who are the key players in the startup ecosystem, they are entrepreneurs, they are investors, universities and research institutes, incubators and accelerators, and government agencies. So entrepreneurs at any stage, they are the uh, pillar or the foundation of any startup ecosystem. Nowadays, investors are like they are made the king of this ecosystem, but they are not the king right now. Where if you compare the whole concept of bootstrapping and getting funding, so two different kind of arguments you will get in the market. But yeah, investors are a part of the ecosystem and they are the supporting pillar of the startup ecosystem. Universities and research institutes. So why are these a key player in this ecosystem is you get a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs to come down into this ecosystem from the universities. A lot of researches are done in the institutes and the universities which are not commercialized a lot. But nowadays, with all the digitalization coming into the picture, with all the knowledge sharing coming into the picture, people are trying to commercialize the research papers or the IEEE research papers what we used to write in the college days. They are being commercialized now. So it all comes out from the research institutes. It comes out from the universities. So research institutes are the ones who are trying to lead the innovation factor of this ecosystem, or trying to innovate to bring in new technologies which can try to solve people's pain point of life in life. Incubators and accelerator. I am a big fan of these people because I work in an startup ecosystems incubator and accelerator firm itself. So where these incubators try to build in a what to say a space or a cushion kind of a thing, which is trying to help the entrepreneurs not to fail. So where we see that like there is a data that says that 90-95% of these startups which try to start from scratch fail. So these incubators and accelerators try to bring down that number of failed startups in the ecosystem through three different things. So where once we start working in the incubation space, we try to understand what is the actual need of a founder, what is an actual need of a startup. Based on that, we try to design certain things for them. So the top three things which are required by any and all founders in an ecosystem like an incubator or an accelerator, it's money, market, or mentor. So these are the three M's what we usually uh, use as our Bible or something, where any founder coming to us for kind of a support, they require money from VC, from grants, from government, from anybody else. They require market. So when we say market, it's like they have a product, they have a good team. They're not able to connect with certain things. Let's say there is a product which has been built by a team size of 10 to 15 people, which can be a solution added to Amazon's web service. So these people can like sell the solution to Amazon web service, but they have no direct link between them. So these then comes these incubators and accelerators who try to bridge these gaps and try to facilitate that connections for them, facilitate connections with government, facilitate connections with corporates, facilitate connections with the financial ecosystem, what we have, the CAs, the legal teams, or all those kind of people what we usually have in the ecosystem. So yeah, incubators and accelerators are a major part of this ecosystem. And from India point of view, if I have to tell, there are more than 1,000 incubators right now in the country. And everybody is trying to bring in something new onto the table for the entrepreneurs and trying to make their life simple, because this is a myth which is there in a lot of young entrepreneurs, or even the mid 30s entrepreneurs as well, that entrepreneurship is equal to glamorous life. So entrepreneur is never going to give you a glamorous life until you hustle, until you uh, have your sweat and blood coming out of your body, and you work towards whatever goals you have set for yourself. So entrepreneurship is difficult. So people who try to compare entrepreneurship with the corporate ecosystem, where I don't like 9 to 5 job. So what options I have in my life is, can I do a startup? So why do I don't like the 9 to 5 job is, I can't work for somebody else. I don't want to have a boss on my head. So these are certain things which always comes to us when we start working with any ideation stage startups or any early stage startup. I don't want to work with anybody who is trying to boss me in my solution. So believe me, when you go and have these people on your cap table or on your team, when you go and look for investments, when the investors come into the picture, believe me, the investors will be the one who will be driving your business. They'll be the one who will be motivating you or demotivating you to make profits. Rather than giving out a service, make profits, give back my money. Make my money as 10x, 100x, 1000x, but you give me my money back. So these people will become your bosses when you start raising investment. So yeah, so like I have been a very research oriented individual when it comes to talking about certain things. So like last week when I was doing all the researches about what area of startups should we support from our accelerator programs. So these are the top three things which has come out, where I will be talking about the first two things, which is rise of the deep tech ecosystem and sustainability in the spotlight. So when we say the deep tech ecosystem, a lot of conversation is going around the word called Gen AI or Generation AI, or you might have used ChatGPT, you might have used Gemini, you might have used Midjourney, and a lot many different AI tools in your past few months of life, where uh, these things are coming from the Western ecosystem. So when we say the Western ecosystem was working on these things from a long time, and now they are trying to commercialize it through looking as Southeast Asian markets as a marketplace for them, and they are trying to dump a lot of their solutions onto us. So the Indian government tried to bring in a lot of policies around the AI ecosystem, what is being constructed in the country right now. So every other day, the government is also working as a startup right now. So they don't know what is right, what is wrong. It's all about hitting to the max that yes, it is almost right or it is almost wrong. So nothing can be right or wrong in this ecosystem. So they are trying to bring out a lot of policies in this space. And if we try to talk to a lot of investment firms as well. So we are connected with somewhere around 100, investment firms in this ecosystem, and we have a casual conversations with them that where is the money going from the investment ecosystem, which is the biggest sector which they are betting for 2024, 2025. So the top two betting sectors for any of these investment firms are deep tech ecosystem and sustainability as a whole package. So deep tech includes Gen AI as a whole, LLMs, it includes robotics, it includes Internet of Things, it includes healthcare, it includes blockchain. A lot many different technologies are the ones which now need to go deeper. We just don't need a chatbot which is using AI and that becomes a multi-million dollar startup. No, we need certain things which can go into the deeper roots of a problem and a deeper roots of the technology, and take time to incubate, take time to come to the market, but come up with a bigger solution which can survive for 100 years, which can survive for 50 years, which can survive and uh, like give services to somewhere around 140 million people. So that is the space where like I am betting on it a lot. Deep tech is going to boom in Indian ecosystem in the next 24-25 financial year. And sustainability, yes, sustainability is something which I have been very passionately working on, and even your organizers were a part of one of our previous events where we try to bring in the sustainability ecosystem into the place, and we try to bring in the solutions into the market, which are being done at a household system, but now needs to be commercialized. So sustainable packaging, sustainable uh, food items, sustainable logistics, sustainable travel, sustainable XYZ. So a lot many things with the prefix of sustainability is going to get you a lot of limelight in this ecosystem or a spotlight in this ecosystem. So these are the top two trends which I would like you guys to also put your head into and try to find out certain solutions which can ease out people's life. So with that thing, the chat box is always open. Try to put in some things over there so that I can keep an eye on it and give you certain inputs regarding that. So I'll not waste much time on this. So this is the how does the Indian startup ecosystem look like? We are the third largest ecosystem of startup in the whole world right now, where a lot of these players in the previous thing which you have seen, a lot of these players have played a good amount of role into bringing it up to this level. So not only the entrepreneurs can bring it to a third position, it's the government agencies, it's the investors, it's the universities who are accepting the ecosystem. So it's all about the players playing their own role to come up with these stats. So I'll give you 10 seconds till I go to the chat section and see which are the top two startup ecosystem players. So when we say the startup ecosystem players, a lot many like entrepreneurs, if we have to see, like I'll give my personal views on this. Where if I have to tell the top two entrepreneurs for me will be Nikhil Kamath for Zerodha. Zerodha is an stockbroker in our country right now. So that has been a bootstrap startup which has come up with a profit margins of 2,500 crores, 3,000 crores of revenues is what they are making. And the other role model or the top two place which if I have to say is the Zoho founder. I am forgetting his name right now. So there is this software company which is named as Zoho. The way they have built their culture, the way they have built their team, the way they are building solutions for the ecosystem, phenomenal. And the way they are backing the ecosystem now, that is also like I can say that they are the ones who should be rewarded for what they are doing in the ecosystem right now. But yeah, entrepreneurs, these are the top two for us. Investors, I can't say anything who will be the top two. I won't be commenting on that. Universities and research institutes. So when I say universities and research institutes, it's always about the culture what these universities are trying to bring into their day-to-day curriculums. So in India, the Indian Institute of Technology, that is the IITs, they have done a phenomenal job in trying to bring in that entrepreneurial culture into their students so that from the first year of engineering or the first year of their graduation, they start thinking of problems. They start spending time with the problems. They start spending time with where the problems are happening so that they can come up with a solution by the end of their by the end of their academic years. So the kind of entrepreneurs which come out of an IIT ecosystem, they are more technically sound. They are more connected with the technical ecosystem rather than the other ecosystem. What we can say it about, where like if the other institutes from the business point of view, if I have to say, Indian School of Business has done a huge job in this ecosystem, where a lot of like students in okay. A lot of students from the Indian School of Business have been taking this journey of entrepreneurship since the day one. And they try not to go for placements and go for entrepreneurship, risk their whole business life cycle and risk their whole lives as well. So these two will be the ones. So the top two countries which are on top, it's one is Chinese ecosystem and one is US. So these are the two who are beyond us in the space. So does the incubation centers impact more entrepreneurs on or startups? So there is a mixed reaction in that, uh, where certain people feel that the startups who go to an incubators will never scale, because we haven't seen in any incubator or any accelerator, the startup which is coming out of an accelerator or incubator, they are making it to the word unicorn. But when we see from the other angle, the life, the product which would have taken 8 to 10 years to commercialize, they try to reduce on that timeline. So still can't say if the incubation centers impact or have a good impact or not. We can't say on that numbers, but yes, they are trying to make their impact by helping these entrepreneurs to ease out their journey. Yeah, okay. Sridhar Vembo is his name. I totally forgot his name. Okay, moving into the next part of this uh, presentation, crafting a winning business model. So, like, I know everybody wants to have a great business model. Everybody wants to have a great pitch deck ready with them so that they can go out and pitch it to any investor and bring money to their organization. But let me tell you certain stories. So these are the steps which you need to follow or at least go through to make it big. So while I give you a brief of what these steps are, you can even read through the lines which are mentioned in the below of like these areas over here. So all these steps which a startup life cycle has to go in is the ideation step, prototype step, the minimal viable product step, the product market fit step, scaling, potential profitability, and a cash cow. So these are the steps which we, as a catalyst to the startup ecosystem, we try to understand these whole terminologies to find out what is required at what stage. So in an ideation stage, when a founder is there, so we need to help them into ideate, find out the actual problem, find out the actual, like when we say the actual problem, a lot many people try to say that I have a problem statement ready with me and I am trying to build a solution around it. So when you actually go and try to dig deep in that problem, you identify that yes, that problem which they were identified or they had identified are on a very surface level. So it doesn't go onto the roots of what is causing the problem. So we try to give support in that space, and where design thinking as a methodology or a tool has helped us a lot in the previous few years, where design thinking comes out as like a mantra for us to support startups in a stage like these. So what are the some common mistakes that startups make in their early stages? So one common mistake which all the entrepreneurs try to make in the early stage. When I say the early stage for me is 1 to 3. This ideation, prototype, and MVP. Without having a prototype ready, without having a product ready, so there are two mistakes. So without having a product ready, they try to seek funding. So where there is a concept that okay, if I get funding in my organization, my life will be sorted and I'll be able to build a solution. I'll be able to have a good team. I'll be able to have a good market reach only if I have funding. So this will be there with a lot of uh, aspiring entrepreneurs where they always try to get funding. So funding is not like we have spoken to a lot of VCs where this is what they have said. Where our question was like, what is the stage when you try to go in and fund a startup? So this is a very simple question for them. So where the answer, which is average of all the answers what we have got is, so they usually don't fund a startup or they don't put a money into a startup which is always looking for money. So they put in money into the startup which doesn't require money at that stage. Trying to understand this whole concept over here is uh, now if you have only like a bank, like you have money left over in your bank for next 2 months, and now you start hunting for investors. So this gives a hint to the investor that if the investment doesn't come into the startup, your startup will die. Your products are not able to sustain your startup expenses. So when on the other side, if you have a runway of, let's say, a 2 year runway, I have a lot of money coming into my account, I have my product selling, and the product is giving me money to again resell another product. That is the time when the investors see that yes, this is the right time for us to put in money into this startup and make money out of it. So this is one of the biggest mistake people do, looking for fundings in the initial stages. Without money, we can't do anything. So the other one is they don't talk to customers. They don't try to understand what the customers want. They try to give it to the customers what they have. So this converts to a conversation of sales. So they try to sell and they don't try to fulfill the needs of a customer. Selling will help you reach a $22 billion valuation like Byju's. But again, your fundamentals are not correct. You will come down like a straight line itself, and nobody will be there to save you after that. So these are the two biggest mistakes which happens in this ecosystem. And mm, yeah, so now let's move on to the next one. So where how do you identify a right problem to solve? So this is what has come, like I have been working with somewhere around 3,000 students in the previous 3.5, 4 years. So where the kind of problems which the students try to come up with are mostly related to their own life, or like they are surrounded by a bubble of their universities or their colleges. They don't try to go out of their colleges. They don't try to go out of their houses. They don't try to go out of their own comfortable space, and due to which they are not able to come up with a problem which is actually required to be solved. And they try to solve certain things which are not required in the long term, and the startup doesn't work. And then a blame comes down to the whole ecosystem, saying that yes, the startup ecosystem doesn't promise any stability. So, how do you identify a right problem to solve? So, shoot it down in the chat section and shoot it down in the shoot it down your ideas of what a problem is all about in the chat section, and then I'll give you what is actually required to be solved. So in the chat, we have this question that Byju's is going through a lot of problems, and I have worked for Byju's as well. So I have seen the inside out of what Byju's is all about. And the trouble is currently, as I said in the previous two slides, that when you have a lot many investors coming into the cap table of yours, a lot many times your investors will be the ones who will be ruling your, or who will be guiding you to make profits at any cost. So that is a major problem which is happening inside. The investors are trying to get in their own money out of it, without knowing that okay, people are not wanting to buy a solution. So the solution which you were selling, that you sold it as this is the only option available for students. But no, there are a lot many different options available for students, and you made a, like usually Byju's goes into this uh, area of aggressive marketing or aggressive sales. So they did this concept. They were hiring thousands of people only for selling without focusing on their product. So their product was not good. Their pricing was also not good. And yeah, these are the two things which cause their whole trust loss. How does the incubation center engage with the broader startup ecosystem, including investor corporates and government agencies, to support the growth and success in its resident startups? Okay. When I say an incubation centers have a lot of things to bring into the plate, where they are connected with the government agencies through, like now if you see from Indian perspective, Government of India has a body called Startup India. so which runs all these different initiatives for entrepreneurs. Different grants are there, but government can't become the execution partner. They can't be the execution unit at least. So they try to find out these incubation centers and give out all their resources to them, through which the incubation centers provide all the services to the startups. So this is how incubation centers give connections to the government. Corporates are something like, a lot of corporates have CSR money. If you understand the CSR concept, a lot of CSR money is there. Now, if they have to put in money in education, so they have to track back their whole what to say impact out of it. The easiest way to do is an incubation center who is trying to upskill entrepreneurs like you, or trying to upskill the rural population of the country to become entrepreneurial. That will be the best part what they can do. So a good way to connect corporates and incubation centers. And investors are like, for investors, incubation centers and accelerators become a good pipeline, um, uh, like a good pipeline for their investments. Without wasting time, I'll go to the slide right now. How do you identify a right problem? So the whole concept of a problem is you have to solve it for others. So, like, I have read this quote earlier where it said that the most successful businesses are created with a business model which is having solving a problem for others as the major specs. So where if you are trying to solve a problem in the ecosystem, that is the business model which will help you grow in the ecosystem. So when we say this, yes, you need to find out an actual problem. So you can use this template that you can hit on the emotions of a human being. So let's say if you have to hit the emotions of a human being. So emotions can be security, attention, let's say control, privacy. So like these are the kind of emotions which you can tap in. So where, let's say, security is one of the emotion which you need to tackle, and you want to identify a problem statement around security. Now security has a lot many different things which you can go through. So if you have heard of this concept called insurance, so insurance is providing a security of, like, let's say health insurance is providing you health insurance, health security while you are going through any health related issues. Uh, Car insurance, okay, you have the security that I have bought a car insurance, and that will help me out when I go and hit a like when I like meet with an accident. So that gives me a security. As an individual, as a customer, it gives me a security. I'll be going ahead and buying that solution. So a good problem to solve. Security in the other aspect, if you want to understand, the image processing based door locks which are there at the house entrances. So where a person coming to your house, you can match that person's face that okay, this person looks familiar, and then only you allow the person to get inside your house. Again, related to security, a good solution, a good problem to tackle in a Western country, in any kind of a country which has a lot of these kind of an issues related to house robberies or something like that. Now, if you have to, like, let's say privacy as a issue, if you want to take in privacy, data security. A lot of data is there in this digital world which needs to be kept in a secured manner. So blockchain came into the picture where blockchain provides you privacy, blockchain provides you security, blockchain provides you transparency of all the kind of transactions what happens. So you have a private life, but you have a transparency when required. So you can understand from these terminologies itself. So you have to just understand the emotional need of a human, try to find out that emotional need, and try to bring out a problem which is aligned to that emotion, and try to bring out a solution around it. So this is the template which I like the most, to write down the whole problem, solution, offerings, everything in the one like paragraph or one page itself. So if you can read through, like if I have to write down for what is my target customer, who has like the problems what they are trying to, the problems what they are facing, the product name, that is the solution which you are coming up with, is a market category, is like you can classify it into the categories what we have in the market. Uh, that does the kinds of benefits. So you define your value proposition or your offering. Unlike, you can mention your competitor over here, my product. Now, what is the uniqueness about your product? So, where your product has a competitor earlier, why should a person come to you and not go to anybody else? So, we know it as it's true when these objectives are met. So, like this might look very confusing, very delusional right now, but let me give you an example of how you actually write down the whole concept. So, like, yeah, these are not built by me. These are not built by individuals like us. These are built by people. So, we need to just understand how to use it in our day-to-day life. So, where for people who live in urban cities. So, this is the target audience. Now, who has, like, this is the problem. The a need to feel less annoyed when waiting at the elevator. So then elevator.ly is the solution or the product name. What it is a tablet device that what it does is plays music while you are in an elevator. Unlike elevator music. So elevator music is a competitor. My product is a cost less and easier to install. So this is the value proposition or the USP, or why should people go ahead with your solution. Then we'll know this is true when, like, how will you get to know that yes, your product or solution is required in the market? So when we save $50,000 in elevator renovation cost and tenants are happy. So these are, so if you see, all these boxes are all assumptions. So initial days of your startup life cycle, you'll be having a lot of assumptions which you need to validate through different terminologies, different tools, different framework, different methodologies. So where, if you can see the first one, people who live in urban areas, how big is the market? So if you want to understand how big the market is, you need to understand the market potential of the solution which you are trying to build. You need to find out how many people are living in the urban cities. If you have the number, then you start breaking it down. How many people live in a multi-story building and have an elevator? So all those breakups will give you your target audience who has a need to feel like. Now the second assumption is this a large enough problem to solve? So certain times the problems are not big enough to solve. Certain times the whole target market which we are trying to solve, it is very, very small. So we need to look at a bigger picture. Then if we see, like, play music while you are in an elevator, do people want to hear music in an elevator? So that is a big question to ask. What if the people are only not wanting to listen to any music in the elevator? I just want a peaceful time in the elevator to go from one floor to another. If they don't require your solution, elevator.ly is not required at all. So these are the kind of assumptions which you can bring it down into one page and try to find out answers related to this assumption. And this is another like framework which we use in the ecosystem a lot. Like, some people use business model canvas, some people use lean model canvas. So I am more of a lean startup methodology person, where lean model canvas can give you everything onto a one page itself. So where you can list down your top three problems, how are you solving those top three problems, what are your unique value propositions, what is your unfair advantage, why, like, something which nobody can take it from you, your customer segments, your existing alternatives, your key matrix of success, like how will you find out what is success for you. So in the previous slide, if we see over here, we saved $50,000. So this can become a key matrix to find out if your problem is doing good in the market or not. Cost structure, revenue structure, your like how are people going to use your solution? So those fall into the channels. Early adopters. Who will be your early adopters, or who will be the first few people who will try to use your solution and give you feedbacks around it? So if you if you are working on any of your ideas right now, any of the things right now, you need to work on this lead model canvas. And if you can see over here on the right topmost corner, there is a
Sorry,
version written
just
over
to
it.
interrupt. We're actually
Yeah,
running short of time, so I just wanted to inform.
5 more minutes and I'll be done with this concept.
Yes.
I'll not go into the Q&A much, so keeping it clear over here. So you can keep a lot of versions over here in this lean canvas model and try to update it every time you talk to more customers. You get more feedbacks and you try to update the whole concept. So this is the startup method, lean startup methodology, what we use in this ecosystem to do things in a much faster manner. So idea, if you have an idea, build a solution around it, code and measure the whole thing or the solution with your target audience. Try to find out if things are working or not, what are the glitches which you are getting, what are the feedbacks which you are getting. Try to capture those data, learn from that data, and again go back to your idea board and try to hover around in this chart paper where you can find out a good, great solution. So root cause analysis is, yes, one more method where you can find out the actual problem which has to be solved, which is a 5 why method. I will drop down a link of that method in the chat box after my session. You can go through that method. You try to ask the question 5 times to yourself and find out what is the actual problem. So I can give you references to that by the end of this session itself. Now, coming back to the last thing, which is how to build a strong co-founding team. So, if you can recognize the picture over here, it is from a web series called Silicon Valley. And every entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur should go and watch this series and try to bring in something into yourself in your life cycle. So when we say you need to have a good co-founding team, I believe that for having a successful startup, you need to have a second marriage, which is marrying your co-founder, not in the other sense, but yes, you you have to work with that person for more than 100 hours a week, more than 120 hours a week. So you will have to survive with that fellow for more than what you will survive with your parents or with your siblings or with your wife or a husband. So you will have to marry with your virtual marriage, not actual marriage. So you have to find out a good person. Uh, Usually the VC ecosystem says that one man army concept, what we have, that a solo entrepreneur or a person who is only leading the team usually doesn't give any confidence to the VCs because you not have anybody else to solve conflicts in the topmost level of your management. So 2 to 3 founders team is good enough, which have a complementary and non-overlapping skill sets is something which you should be looking for. So you should be having a commercial founder, a founder who knows how to sell. You should have a technical founder, a founder who can lead your technical team, and a domain founder. So if you are making or you are ideating about a agriculture related solution, agriculture related problem, you should have a person who understands the agriculture ecosystem. So that is what we call it as a domain expert. So if we have to say, no one builds a successful business alone. So you'll have to bear with that concept. Yeah, these are some of the other things which you need to keep in your mind while you are finding out people for yourself. So yeah, networking is the key concept. Go to sessions like these, go to events where a lot of entrepreneurs are there. Interestingly, there is a concept which the Indian government has brought in this ecosystem few years back is there is a train which is being run by the Indian Railways. which is called Startup Jagriti or Startup Yatra or something it is, which is only booked for the entrepreneurs. So these entrepreneurs sit inside that train and just try to identify or find out your co-founder, try to find out what other people are doing, learn from their mistakes, and try to network. So a good concept what the team came up with, and usually this is what I have learned in a hard way in my life. So look outside your immediate circle. So your best friends can't be your co-founder always, but yeah, you can look outside the ecosystem as well. So the last point which I'll make over here, and then I'll just end it up over here. So these are the three friends usually an entrepreneur should have. Like one is a CA, one is a lawyer, and one is a peer in the same business, but 2 to 3 years ahead of ahead of you in your journey. So this is the something which I had heard from certain people in this ecosystem, where they focus on these concepts a lot. You should have a CA, you should have a lawyer. They are the ones who will be helping you around with the financials, helping you around with the compliance, legal aspects, and they'll help you out in a thousand different ways in which your technical co-founders or finding out a law firm who can help you out with that can help you with a friend itself. So peer who is doing some things in the same ecosystem but 2 to 3 years ahead of you are the most important people which you should have in your friend list. So yeah, that's it. This is something which you should read about it. And I guess the question which came into the chat where why Byju's was failing. So this is 4 P's of startup which you should have: product, price, place, promotion. So when any of these 4 P's, if it is gone, your startup will not do the way it should do. So if you have a good product, not a good price, you can't do anything. If you have a good product, good price, if you're not placing in it in a good market, you can't do anything. Good product, good price, good placement of your product. If you're not able to promote it well, you're not doing a good marketing around it, you're not narrating the actual story about the product, you can't do anything with your startup then. Yeah, with this, I'll just close off the session. This is where you can reach out to me for any further questions because I am available in the ecosystem itself.
Thank you so much, sir. So we cannot have the question answer round because of short of time.
Sure,
but
sure,
as
sure. I have answered a lot.
Yes, but as sir said, you can connect with him, and we'll share his LinkedIn also at the end. So over to our second speaker. Our next speaker is Mr. Dilip Kumar. Mr. Dilip Kumar started his career as an automation engineer due to his keen interest in developing new products. During his tenure at Rockwell Automation, he received multiple awards for his technical, sales, and leadership skills. In the year 2015, along with Mr. Vikram Shetty, he founded Inspire Clear Energy, ICE, a pure play technical asset operation and maintenance management company for solar PV plants. In the last 9 years, ICE has grown, is regarded as a technical expert in managing solar PV assets. In the late 2018, he founded RepairWorks, RW, India's first solar PV repair, refurbishing, and recycling company, focusing on sustainable ways to handle the post-warranty life of PV components. He was awarded Dr. Solar in 2022, PV Guru and Solar Specialist of the Decade. Over to Mr. Dilip. Sir, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshmi.
Yes, sir.
Om, you have covered a lot of ground, and thanks for that. You have made my life easy.
That's what incubators do.
Great. So I took cue from the agenda, and I thought I'll run the whole stuff. I hope you guys can see my screen and there's no The whole screen is visible, right?
Yes, yes, can see. Yeah.
Great. So I thought I'll take cue from the agenda, and I thought, how about connecting the startup ecosystem into the jungle concept and connect each stakeholder as an animal in the jungle and see how we can understand this jungle, navigate this, and prosper. End of the day, everyone wants to have their startup with the idea that we can prosper, not just us, but the whole society can prosper. That's the idea. And based on that, I made my deck. And when I got the invite from Lakshmi, I went through OSG Youth Alliance, and I was pleasantly surprised the activities that is being done by Tan Yang Han and his team. Really amazed, and hats off to you guys in putting this together, running it for so long, collecting all the young minds, youths, and building sustainability at the core function. And I'm very happy that I could be part of this and share my 2 cents on what we have gone through in the last 10 years in starting Inspire and a couple of more organizations that we have started. So as I start, I just want people to chat. Looking at these pictures, can you guess which country is this?
Singapore.
Singapore. Yeah. Singapore. So this is Singapore, and this Singapore turned to this Singapore, and it is all because of three major reasons. And one of them is to encourage startup, allow startups to try, fail, and be better. Without a robust startup ecosystem, Singapore wouldn't have grown by wealth, by standards, living standards, and what it is today. Thanks to the free trade arrangements and the support rendered to startups to build within the country and build new tech within the country, allow money to come in and build out of it. And that is what helped Singapore to become from such a country to such a beautiful one. So just infrastructure is not important. If you look at Singapore's health quotient, wellness quotient, happiness quotient, they are far, far better. So what it signifies is, as somebody who is ideating, as people who are looking to build their own startup in their early age, you are not building for yourself, you are building for the whole world. So keep that in mind. Any action, any step that you take is going to have immense impact, not just personally, but within your area, within your state, within your country, and beyond, right? So it could be positive impact and it could be negative impact. But it is important to know that whatever steps you take is going to have a large impact. With that said, as entrepreneurs, we are like lioness, right? We are bold, we are fearless, we are courageous, and we take immense risk. We just want to go out, do the hunting, plan it, and take calculated risk. We are all born leaders. That these qualities define anybody who wants to ideate to be an entrepreneur. There are many people who have ideas, but it is only the people who can execute it can become successful. So many people in the jungle can have ideas, but it is the one who is bold, who is fearless, who can plan and take risk can become an entrepreneur. But with all these qualities, you will also become stubborn. You think your idea is right, your approach to the solution is right, and you protect your solution very, very strongly. You become very stubborn. And you also roar loud, and people get intimidated to come near you, to work near you. So, as an entrepreneur, think about these two things. You may be bold, you may be fearless, but you have to be less stubborn, understand different perspectives, mellow down to bring people with you so that you can grow. Just like an elephant, we have investors who are very patient, very selective on what they want, how they want. And they are very resourceful. They can uproot a huge tree in a matter of minutes. Such resourceful, such mighty set of stakeholder is the investor. And they are just like the elephant, the gardeners. They go build jungles. They make sure forest continues to grow, continues to prosper. But remember, your investor is very demanding. When I mean demanding, if they decide, you have to deliver. They can be on your back. Imagine having an elephant on your back and you have to deliver, right? And extremely short-term focused. They have a very good memory. They are risk averse, but they want immediate result. So choose your investors wisely. Don't settle for an investor who is going to look at your money only. Look for investors who value your purpose, who has strategic alignment with what you are building. Choose the right elephant who you can take and become a large forest. Your customers. When I made the presentation, I was thinking about monkey, but then I thought people might get offended and later settle down with bear, right? Your customers are like a bear. They are very instinctive. They have intuitions. They can predict where there is going to be a problem. And they are highly protectionist. They want to guard their privacy. They want to guard their area. They don't want to let go of anything. If you are very pushy, when you try to get aggressive with them, they become very intimidating. They can threaten you. They can maul you over, right? So that is the customer. But if you understand them, if you can work around them, they are most best wild animal which will not attack you but still be of help. They like isolation. They like independency. They think they want to make the decision. They don't want any of us to push to make a position. They don't want to feel like I am being compelled to buy this. That situation they don't want. So they want decision-making independence. They are very, very protective of what choices that they make. Keep this in mind whenever you meet a customer. They are like bear. Make them comfortable. They will walk along with you. Giraffes represent your mentors. Very insightful. They can see you from the top and help you with different perspective of problems and challenges that you might face, and very, very supportive. But they are highly opinionated because they come with a lot of baggage. They come with their past experience. They come with their own wounds that they got from this jungle, and hence they are highly opinionated. Choose your mentors, they who are up to date and not overbearing to you, who can understand the latest what is happening in the market. Your team, they are like the ants. Look at the picture. They are mauling a centipede, which is multiple times bigger than them. They are such a mighty, resilient bunch of people whom you can be 100% sure of when you want things to be done. If they have a purpose, if they are aligned to the mission, they are very, very determined. They can collaborate, they can move mountains. But remember, when you are building a team, make sure that you have diversity in the team and you have different thought processes so that your team is more robust to handle different situations during your good days and your bad days. Right? Build a sound team which works on a purpose and which has a lot of diversity. I consider the market to be like a chameleon, because when you are trying to build a product, it looks like something. When you are launching the product, it looks completely different. When the product has hit the market, it is completely different. So market is camouflaged. It is very dynamic. It is unpredictable. Anybody who says, I have timed the market, is lying to you. Nobody can time the market. There is a famous saying, you can only connect the dots in the future. So market is just like your chameleon, very, very dynamic, unpredictable. Don't try to predict the market. But if you know what an chameleon does, how an market moves based on history, based on similar products or solutions, you can easily domesticate it, right? So understand where you are playing, understand your ground, and play according to that rule. The most important role played by government agencies and regulators are like an eagle, right? They are very protective. They want to be fair. They want to be watchful. They are always vigilant. Their only idea is, as long as there is no problem, you can continue to do it. The moment you create problem, that's when they come in. They want to think over a long period, but they have their own limitation. You get into the trap of the regulator when you make mistake. So just like an eagle waiting for the prey to come out, the regulators are waiting for you to make a mistake so that they can penalize you. So whichever market you are playing, whichever solutions that you are developing, ensure that you have 100% compliance to the regulators. One of the best examples that I can say is that of Zerodha. The founders keep repeating that we can do a lot with the technology that we have built, but we don't want to do because we don't want to get to the other side of the regulators. We want to comply with what is there in the regulation. Don't get into the gray side. Always have black and white things with the regulator and the government agencies. Your competition can be considered like a pack of wolves. They are very intelligent. They are ruthless. They don't want to cede their territory. They are very cunning, but remember, they are lazy. If they were hardworking and smart, there is no problem that you have to find a solution for. They are lazy, cunning, and that is why there is a problem in that territory and you are developing a product for. You have to make sure that you understand your competition. Don't worry about your competition because, as I said, they are lazy. Because they are lazy, and if you can understand their pattern, you can overcome them easily. And they are very inconsistent. They want to hoard resources. Whoever wants to assimilate or accumulate a lot of resources will not be liked, and hence you have a higher chance of winning if you can map your competition better. So I have shared different stakeholders and their animalistic characters, but what we need at the end of the day to rule the forest, just like the calm lioness you can see in the picture, is just the 4 points. Address the pain. Don't develop a product and try to find a problem that that product can solve. Take a pain, take a problem and solve it, right? There are enough problems. And I think Om referred to, is this a problem? And today people are going out and asking, do you have a problem? If you are asking, do you have a problem? Then you are not fit to start yet. As an entrepreneur, you should be able to identify what is a problem and how big is that problem. Okay. Second, have a long-term vision. Entrepreneurs are here to build generational companies. You are not here to build for 5 years, 6 years, flip them, sell them, and move on. That is not what entrepreneurship is. Unfortunately, in the last decade or two, it has been taught in that way that entrepreneurs come, build, sell, and move on. And people are flaunting with 2x entrepreneur, 3x entrepreneur. But the idea is not to build and move on, build sustainable generational organizations, which even after your lifetime can add value to the society. So if you have to do this, you need to build a strong culture. Each organization has a strong culture, and that culture defines how long an organization can grow, right? That is why you have very few companies which have survived 100 years and 200 years. Without a culture, those companies cannot survive beyond 50 years. Because the company has a culture, the organization has a culture, they are able to carry forward the vision of the founders beyond their lifetime and get into 200 years, 150 years, right? To rule the forest and to be successful, you have to build might. Only when you bring order, you will be able to rule the forest. What does the lion do? The lion brings order in the forest, and your work is to bring order. And to bring order, you have to build might. How do you build might? Not by showing power, by showing compassion, by showing fairness, and by showing that you will do the right thing even during your bad times, right? So if you follow these rules, you will be able to rule the forest, which means you can be a successful entrepreneur. And to me, a successful entrepreneur is not someone who gets listed under the Forbes 30 under 30 or 40 under 40 or gets awarded or gets sold to an investor. These are not parameters of a successful entrepreneurship. For me, successful entrepreneurship means people who are building ecosystem which can live beyond their lifetime. Okay. And I'm going to share few books that you can look into to understand more on how to follow these pains. It is very difficult to identify pain. So there is a lovely book written by Simon Sinek, Start with Why. I would recommend everybody to read this book. I have read it multiple times. Every time I read this book, I get a different perspective, right? This book says you why you should start with why and why you shouldn't start with what I do, right? There are a lot of examples thrown in this book. The famous example, of course, they have taken is about Apple and why Apple iPhones was a success and what kind of problem that they solved and why it is important for you to take that approach. And the second important point that this book discusses is do not assume. The biggest challenge that entrepreneurs have is in our day-to-day grind and in the firefighting, we assume that the customers want this, right? Do not assume. Go out, seek input, right? So I would strongly recommend if anybody ideating to look at this book, read them, and this would help you identify problems. If you don't know what is a problem, but you want to be an entrepreneur, this book is the starting point. The second book is again by Simon Sinek, but this is his latest book. I have read this, and this is another wonderful book by Simon. Here he talks about why companies have to be built for multiple generations. It has to be built for 3, 4, 5 generations. It has to be built for 100, 200, 300 years. If you look at the history, any company which has not lived beyond 100 years, they haven't created any positive social impact to the world or to the country they have started. They start, and if they fail, the impact is very small. For example, if you take the Tatas, if you take the Brillas, right? They are generational companies. As they become larger, as they grow beyond multiple generation, they add more value to the society. They give back more to the society. So as an entrepreneur, today at the age of 19, 20, 25, you should have a vision how your company will be doing at the end of 100, 150 years. Okay. And this book also talks about one important point that you have no competition, right? You may be playing against somebody who already is working in that market, but they are not your competitors. You are not here to win competition. You are here to play the game. You are not here to look at winning or losing, because different companies have different vision. Your vision and your competitors' vision may be different. So you cannot have metrics comparing them. For example, Google and Microsoft cannot be compared. They are completely different, right? So NVIDIA, TSMC cannot be compared. They are completely different companies, but operating in the same industry. So different companies have different goal. So don't get intimidated by your competition. And remember, your whole goal is to survive, thrive, and keep playing, right? So build a long-term vision. And this is yet another amazing book. Unfortunately, we lost the author of this book. Wonderful guy. He died about 2.5 years back, delivering happiness. This book talks about why a company should have a purpose beyond their product and solutions. You should have a purpose, strong purpose, which is the core building block of why you started this company. And second, it talks about building your strength in one particular vertical. Don't get diversified. You have to be strong in one thing. Anybody in the market talks about your company, talks about you, should be aware that, hey, he or she is strong in that, right? That should be the call that the market should have. You should be strong in one thing. Do not diversify. Do not do everything. Okay. And in the initial years, spend zero money on marketing. Put all your money on your team, on your company. Build differentiator. Do not waste money on marketing your product. If you build a good product, if you are solving a good problem, customers will come to you. You don't have to spend money to reach out to customers. Initial period. Okay. And this is yet another good book that you should read if you are in the next stage of your product. And this is the last book suggestion that I want you to read it. This is a very difficult read. I'm saying it again. This book is a compilation of different pamphlets released by George Clason between 1920 to 1920 to 1930. So it talks about how to build wealth, how to build generational wealth, right? And this many consider it as a personal help book, but I consider this as an organizational wealth book for these three reasons. One, do not spend too much. Be very, very conservative. Control your expense. You will be tempted. You will be tempted to participate in a marketing event. You will be tempted to hire somebody in a higher package. You don't know how much value that team is going to bring in. You don't know. Be very conservative when you are doing your expense. Seek advice. Seek help. The biggest challenge in the social media era is people are very shy to seek help. And the reason is they think help is available without seeking. Advice given free is most times is a wrong advice. So know the right person whom you can ask the advice. So that's why this book clearly says seek expert advice. There is a wonderful example in the third or fourth chapter. George talks about a situation where this person goes and asks an advice from a wrong person and how he loses money and how you have to choose. Most times, that's what Om exactly mentioned. Your best friend may not be your good advisor or your good co-founder. So you need to have the right guy whom you can ask advice for. Always reinvest in the company. Do not pull money out of the company once you start making money. Okay. So these are the important points that these books say. And in general, if you are planning to start up and do, these are the important points that you need to focus on. And with this, I conclude my speech. And one important point that I wanted to highlight was I did not take a lion. I chose a lioness because the lioness of the pride does most of the work than the lion. Okay. And it is very, very important to be the lioness and not the lion. Okay. So with this, I conclude my speech and I can see a lot of questions here. Is there any questions that I can ask for?
I would like to say thank you so much, Mr. Omkar, for your invaluable insights. I'm certain that all the participants have gained a lot of knowledge and insight. We can have anyone who has any questions right now, question and answer round. You can ask your questions to either Dilip sir or Omkar. Just put down your messages, or you can also raise your hand, unmute, and ask for any questions. Anybody with questions, you can just unmute, or you could put it down, type it down.
I see a message from Tan Yang Han that how do we balance between long-term view and pivoting? If a pivoting is of course an important activity or an important decision that an organization has to take, but that has nothing to, it doesn't change your long-term view. When I mean long-term view, we have to do something called as dreaming big. You have to think beyond what you can imagine today. There's another good author. He is a renowned futurist. I had the opportunity to meet him back in 2006. Alfred, he says that people think that we cannot imagine. We are not imaginative. But it is untrue. Everybody can be very imaginative. Just to give an example of imagination, again, with respect to the animal industry, if you go and ask an insect that there is your predator which can live 70 times more than you, right? If you take an housefly, its life is only 15 days, but the lizard which eats it can live for 2 or 3 months, right? Of course, the housefly will laugh at it. If you say to the lizard that a cat can live 100 times beyond that, the lizard will be laughing. So we are limiting our imagination. So when I mean long-term view, we are talking about cultural perspective of an organization. My organization, whatever we do, whatever we pivot, we will not be underpaying employees. We will not be exploiting our team members. We will be following the compliances. 100 years from now, our company should be regarded as the most ethical company. So these are visions that you can have and still pivot. Okay, so we should be building for longer horizon. What happens when today you are starting with 5 people? What happens if you have 100 people? Build processes today so that tomorrow you don't have challenge.
Mr. Dilip, I think I'll try to read a question from Slido. So, what are some common misconceptions about failure in the startup world?
What are some common misconceptions? I'm sorry, I missed you.
Yeah. What are some common misconceptions about failure in the startup world?
At least in Southeast Asia, in the Asiatic region, failure is dreaded. But elsewhere, if you go to Europe or US, failure is actually celebrated. But to me, there is nothing called as failure. Each time when you're not able to meet your desired goals, you are learning more than what you could learn from what you did during achieving that goal. Let's say you want to build a product for this particular solution. You build that product, customers liked it, and it is generating revenue for you. It is a success. But you are taking a problem, you're not able to build the product. You built a product, but still customers are not valuing you. You are learning more during that process, which will help you build much more successful people. And that is why investors also invest in founders who had multiple startups, because they have more learnings. And that's why they like, if he has done 3 startups, let me go and invest, because their risk comes down.
Okay, the next question is, what are the ethical considerations that startups should be mindful of in their business practices?
See, you will be going through 4 phases in your startup journey or your organizational journey. First is your initial phase, which is your startup phase, where you don't have customers, or you have just identified a product or a problem and you're trying to build it. During this time, you need a team which has 200% conviction and trust on what we are building. Okay. This team will be ad hoc. It will not follow process. It will be working crazy to get to the solution of the problem. The second phase is a phase where you are in the growth phase, right? You have built a product, you are seeing a traction, and you are seeing customers. During this phase, you cannot have the same ad hoc guys go and do it, because here you need process. Customers are expecting some kind of sanity, some kind of process from us. So here you would need someone with little bit of professional experience who can help you build processes which can help peak the growth. And then you come to the stability phase. During the stability phase, you need a different team of people who can get the maximum out of your product, because you have built the product, you have made all the investments into it. Now you have to get the maximum margins out of it. I'm sorry. So here you need team members who can value customer interaction, who can talk regularly to customer interaction, make minor tweaks to get more money into the system and add additional value to your customers. And then you will have a decline phase. Here you need a different team, completely different team, because you don't want to bleed your existing organization. Your product is reaching the end of life. Here you need team which can go commit very less but deliver more without additional costs. For example, your product is coming to an end stage, but there is a demand for it. You cannot go and overcommit like what you did in your growth stage or in your stability stage. You have to undercommit and still please your customers by delivering a little bit more so that your brand image doesn't impact. So these are the 4 stages. You need to have different people, different team members for these 4 stages. And your management perspective also has to change for different phases of your company or the product or the solution.
Okay, thank you. Maybe other question from Lakshmi?
How do startups build and maintain a strong company culture, especially in remote or distributed teams? Company culture is defined by how the whole team behaves any given point of time. Whether you are in good time or in bad times, their behavior should be distinctly identifiable. So this can be done only by top-down approach. As a founder, you have to be very, very clear on what value systems you want to bring in. When you say, I will be supporting equality, you have to breathe equality. It should be in your blood. When you say, I want to be sustainable, you should be breathing sustainability. It should be in your walk and talk of your day-to-day life. You cannot say sustainability and go and do all unsustainable activities in your life. It will not gel well. So immediately team will say, this guy is only for talk, not for reality. Okay, so the culture is top down and it should be in your blood. You cannot have a value system which you don't believe and the company should have, right? So initial startup phase, you and the company are the same. So that's what I keep saying to my team. The initial phase, the order, the trust, everything was because of what the customer felt about me and my co-founder. After a certain period, it should be for the brand. So in the initial phase, you and the brand or the company is synonymous. After a certain period, your company should have a unique identity, value system, which is equal or better than what you have. Fail fast, fail forward. I'm kind of not a party to that, because failing fast with your own money, I'm okay. Failing fast with investors' money, I'm not okay for it. Fail fast with your money and go forward, I'm okay. Don't take somebody else money, keep failing, you cannot go forward. And we have been bootstrapped for the last 10 years. We have 4 companies, all are bootstrapped. We did not go and raise money. And the funder, which Om also said, is that when you go and ask money, the investors gives you advice. When you go and ask advice, they will give you money. So don't go behind money, don't go behind fame, don't go behind awards. You build them. You build for a problem, you build for your solution, you build for the real challenge. Automatically, these will come. The biggest leaders never built it for fame. They built it because they saw the real challenge.
So one last question. How do you, what qualities do you look for when you're assembling your team?
Our interview style has been very different, so I would like to share it here. When we started, I conducted the interview for 1.5 hours with each team member, and my co-founder Vikram said, if you do like this, we will never be able to hire a team member. So since then on, our funda has been very simple. We interview the candidate only for 15 minutes and we see only their attitude. We don't measure their skill. If they have attitude, you can give them skill. If they don't have attitude, whatever skill they have, it will not work. So we look for attitude. When I mean attitude, how they react during the times of difficult times, or when they are put to pressure. That is one thing, because most time you see 2 different set of people during their bad times, during their good times, right? So you need to find out what they do during their good times and bad times. So that is what one important thing that we see. The second attitude that we see is, do they have belly fire? What is driving them? Is there a family need? Is there an economic need? Is there an urge to prove to somebody that they are really doing good? There should be some belly fire. Without that, nothing can happen. So we look for these attributes in the attitude side. And second, we look for their value system. When we mean value system, say, for example, how do they manage to get work done, right? In their existing organization, or if they are fresh out of college, how do they get work done from others? Do they work together? Do they manage the workload and get it done, or boss away? So these are parameters that we check. So basically, values that they believe and attitude that they have. These are the 2 criteria with which we hire the team. We have about 250 odd team members. Every year we interview about 2,000 odd applications, and every time is a new learning for us. And we have made sure that whatever be our busy schedule, one of our founding team members is available during the interview process. It is very important. It's been 10 years, still we are there in all the interview process. At least one of the founding member is there.
Yes, sir. That was very insightful. So we'll close with that right now, the question answer round. Over to Nasir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lakshmi. And yeah, thank you so much for Mr. Kardik and Mr. Dilip for your invaluable insight and enriching discussion. I'm certain that all the participants here have gained immensely from the knowledge and perspective that you've shared today. Yeah, one thing that I highlight is the approach to leadership and influence. Yeah, often we are inclined to showcase power, dominance, yeah, and authority as a symbol of strength. However, true strength lies in compassion, empathy, and understanding. Also, the jungle metaphor is also very interesting. Yeah, from this session, also we got lots of new framework to build our idea as a business, both from Mr. Omkardip's session and Mr. Dilip as well. Also, book recommendation that we might read after this session. And to all the participants, thank you for your active engagement and thoughtful contribution throughout this webinar. Your enthusiasm and passion for youth empowerment are truly inspiring. If you have any further questions or would like to connect with our speakers, Mr. Kardip and Mr. Dalip, please feel free to reach out to them directly. We are surely more than happy to continue the conversation and offer any additional insight or guidance you may need.